Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Humphrey and I'm here to teach you about personal finance. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure to just subscribe to my channel. I post videos basically every week. Today I just wanted to talk about some money tips or some financial advice that I could give to my teenage self. So I think that a lot of this advice is going to be pretty good for you guys, especially if you're on the younger side or if you're just not too sure what to do with your own finances. These are some things that I wish I knew when I was 18. I definitely think every 18-year-old should know these things when it comes to like basic finances. So if you don't know these things, perfect. If you do know some of these things, great, let me know in the comments. But this is just meant to be general advice for you guys as you're approaching, college and after college and so on and so forth. My first tip for you guys is to basically just start saving money. I know that this is kind of like a foreign concept, especially when you're a teenager, you have a certain amount of money in your bank account, or maybe you just have some cash laying around. It's really tempting to just spend it. I know that if I have some cash in my wallet, I'm more likely to just spend it. And I remember as a teen, I would just spend money on basically anything and everything. I didn't really keep a budget. I wasn't really thinking about what I was spending my money on. It was more like impulses, like, oh, I like it, I buy it. It's like that Ariana Grande song, I want it, I got it, that song. Basically, that's what being a teen is like, is you have the money and you spend it, and you're not really too worried about the future consequences. Well, as you get older, those consequences are going to be a bit problematic. So the number one tip that I have for a lot of teens is to basically start adjusting their habits so that they're saving a little bit more. It doesn't matter if you're saving 5% of how much you make, maybe you're not making it all, but as long as you're being a little bit more frugal with your money and you're understanding where your money is going, it's going to be really helpful for you guys in the long run. And especially when you're growing up, you're going to have to start saving money sometime. So the sooner you start it, the better off you're going to be. And this is a lesson that I wish I knew when I was 18. I basically was not very good with my money until maybe the age of 23, 24, when I really started to really pay attention to it. So that's my first tip for you guys, is start saving money and start getting into the habit of saving money and start getting to the mindset of saving money, because it definitely does take a different mindset and it definitely does take some time to get used to. My second tip for you guys is to basically start building credit. Now, I've made a video on like the best credit cards for students in the past, but one of the ways to build credit is with a starter credit card. As a teen, you won't have any credit, so the best way to start building your credit is with a credit card, like one of the beginner credit cards I mentioned in one of my earlier videos, which I'll link above right here. And basically what you're gonna do is you're gonna spend $25, $50, maybe even up to $100 on that credit card a month, and just make sure you pay it off in full. As long as you're spending a little bit of money, AKA you're using a little bit of your credit utilization ratio on the credit cards, creditors are gonna start understanding that you're spending money and you're actually paying it off on time. And all credit is just a running record of how well you pay your stuff on time. So if you have all of a sudden in 12 months of payments and they're all in full, then you're looking a lot better than if you had none. So that's my second tip, is to start building credit either with a credit card or with like something like a utility bill or a cable bill, something that has your name attached to it and only your name, so that you can start to build this credit score that everybody kind of wants. And in the future, when you're applying to, buy a house or applying for an auto loan, things are gonna be a lot easier with better credit. The third tip I have for you guys is to stop spending money on things that won't last a while, or things that don't really provide any return on your investment. Some of the best spending that you can do when you're a teen is to buy something that actually has value and actually will return value. So a great example of this, I know this is kind of a weird thing to buy, but you could buy a power washer. Now you're probably thinking, why the hell do I want a power washer? And I mean, as you should, that's kind of a weird thing to buy. However, if you have the time on the weekends, you could use that power washer, you could advertise your power washing services, and you could start to make more money based on your initial investment of the power washer, which is probably around $200, $250. I'm gonna link for you guys one of my favorite Reddit articles that I just saw recently, and it's basically this guy exactly detailing step by step how he would make money with a power washing business. Now, you don't have to buy a power washer to be, ROI positive on your money. You could also buy something like a digital camera, like what you see now, and you could start filming YouTube videos or taking photography or doing product photos for different types of companies. Or you can buy anything that you could build a skill on. Maybe you guys are musically inclined. You could buy something like a guitar or a ukulele if you're trying to get into that. And maybe that will be something that provides a return on your investment in the future. But all I'm saying is it's probably better to spend money on something where you can build a skill on, rather than money on something like Fortnite skins. And that's something I definitely regret. I'm trying to think of all the money that I've ever touched in the past and think about all the money that I've spent on really stupid things. I think in my lifetime, I've probably spent $2,000 over the course of my life, by the way, $2,000 on digital items. So, I love video games. I've bought Fortnite skins before. I've bought Clash of Clans packs before. I've bought a lot of things online just to make my character look cooler. I've also even played this game. I used to play this game called ArcAge, and I wanted to be the best at ArcAge, which was a MMORPG, which stands for, let me figure out what that stands for real quick. Massively multiplayer online role-playing game. And I bought like $500 worth because one, I was making money at the time, but also I wanted to be the best at the game until I realized it was just a pay-to-win game. So I'm never going to see that money again. And if you've watched my compound interest video that I've made, which I'll link up here as well, you know that the value of $500 today could be like that could be worth like hundreds of thousands of dollars in 40 years if I just invested it. So I myself have made a lot of mistakes, and I'm definitely humbled by my mistakes. And I just want you guys to know it's okay to make money mistakes, but that's why I'm making this video, is that maybe you can avoid some of these mistakes that I've made and set yourself up better for a financial future that is hopefully better than mine. And maybe you just become like a billionaire one day. Don't forget me if you do. The next tip I have for you guys is to really be careful of what debt you're taking on. Debt is kind of one of those scary things that once you start taking it on, it's a lot easier to take more on. So you just kind of want to avoid as much debt as you can. Or what you want to do is make sure that debt is ROI positive. So what do I mean by that? Basically, whenever you're making a decision on whether or not you should take on debt, you should think about, will this debt pay me more in the future for taking it on? A great example of this is education. So a lot of people can either choose to spend a lot of money on education and hopefully it'll pay off for them in the long run. So let's say you want to become a lawyer, all of a sudden you're paying $200,000 in law school fees. But the idea is that hopefully that investment pays you many times over in the future. Out of all the debt that is the scariest, I think credit card interest is probably the scariest type of debt because the interest rates are so high. The average benchmarks for credit card interest is between 15% and 25% a year, which is a lot. I think that if you can find a credit card that has somewhat of a low interest rate, so let's say 5, 6, 7, 8%, that's a pretty good interest rate for a credit card. So those credit card interest rates are mostly to carry a balance for a short period of time. You definitely don't want to carry a large credit card debt balance for a long period of time because that's just eating away at how much money you actually have. The benchmark interest rates for auto loans and home loans right now are pretty low. It's between 3 and 4%. So those are a little bit more manageable. And depending on what type of car loan that you do get, you might be able to get even lower interest rates at this current time. With that being said, let's talk about cars real quick. It's probably not best as a teen or a young adult to finance a new car or even lease a new car. It's probably best to just buy a used car that has, some miles on it and that you can just run into the ground, because especially when you're young, you're not as experienced of a driver. I know that you guys are all good drivers. Don't get me wrong there. But when I was younger, I definitely thought I was a good driver, and I probably was a good driver, knock on wood. But you're still a little bit inexperienced, and things are going to happen when you're younger, when you're driving, that you just might avoid when you're older just because you have so much more experience. So that was my tip on debt. Just make sure that the debt that you do take on is completely worth it before you do take it on. The next tip I have for you guys is just to start investing while you're young. Because time is on your side, you can start investing in many different things. It doesn't have to be just the stock market, but for example, one thing you can invest in is a side business. And I know a lot of you guys will say, well, Humphrey, I don't really have any way to sell things, or I don't really know who to sell it to. Well, most of you guys have an Instagram account. It's as easy as that. That can be your first market. And let's say you're designing t-shirts and you're at school. And one of the benefits of being young is that you're at school and you have this huge network of other people that are like-minded, like you, that will be your customers. So let's say you're designing t-shirts at school and you post on your Instagram and you have 250 or 500 followers on Instagram. You just need one person to buy one of your t-shirts. Once one person buys it and they wear it out, or maybe they rave about the quality of the product, you're gonna get word of mouth referral sales. The other thing is you can start making flyers to hang up around school and get the word out. And I can guarantee if you're in one of these college environments, like, people are gonna give you a shot. So it's like, you might as well try and get, basically throw your ego out the window, because that's the number one thing that's preventing a lot of people from starting a side business like that, is their ego. They don't really wanna face what other people are gonna think about them. Well, I'm telling you now, if you're able to get over this ego hump, you're gonna be far ahead of all your other peers by the time you're 25, 30, because you've already taken that risk. And taking that risk alone is gonna build so much character. It's gonna teach you a lot about yourself and your drive. Now, does that mean that people that don't start a side business technically don't have drive? No, that's not the case. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is if you are interested in starting a business, being young and being in a college or school environment might be a really great place to try it. Other investments you can make are in the traditional stock market or a retirement account like a Roth IRA. I have a lot of videos on investing, guys, so if you guys just go ahead and check those out, you'll be able to understand a little bit more about where to invest your money if that's what you want to do. I hope that you guys found this helpful. Happy 4th of July. I know that this video is coming out on 4th of July. Today is July 2nd when I'm filming this, but hopefully that you guys are having a safe 4th of July. And thank you guys for being here because I really appreciate all the support. I would love to hear from every single one of you, so leave me a comment. I'm going to reply no matter what. So leave me a comment in the comments. Let me know what you'd like to see, and I'll see you guys in the next video, which is going to be Wednesday of next week. So yeah, that's it. Have a great weekend.